Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Laughing and Crying. This is your girl, Niche. Hi, out there in podcast land. I just want to start by saying thank you. You have rated the podcast. You have written reviews. I mean, I love them. The feedback that I'm getting is amazing, guys. I wanted to highlight some of the feedback, actually. One person said, I learned so much about my ADHD and it prompted me to apologize to some people in my life. I thought that was super cool. Really cool. Another person said, my wife and I are going to therapy now thanks to your myths about marriage episode. Someone else said, see you and Dre interact with each other and has encouraged me not to give up on my marriage. And then last one I'll highlight. Someone said, I've learned a new perspective of seeing my relationship with my husband and understanding him more after listening. I can't wait to hear more. Guys, this is what it's all about for me. So thank you so much for continuing to encourage me to do this. And it's not easy to put in the work. It's impacting people. And that's my entire goal. Those of you who are new, I'm going to say it. Go review the podcast. If you haven't yet, rate it 5 stars. If it's not 5 stars for you, you just don't have to listen. Don't rate it less than 5 stars though. Just leave, just leave. Comment, write in, all of those good things, and keep being a fan. Keep listening, because these are things, although I'm talking about them, I still need and, to be vulnerable in this space with you guys. I'm here with you guys doing this. So we have a good show today, don't we always? Coming up on the show is, let me tell you a story. We're also going to check in with Niche a little bit, so you'll get to hear how I'm doing. And we're going to have a conversation later on about contempt. This was a word that was new to me a few years back, and so now I want to share. So we're going to have the conversation about contempt later on. So let's get into it. First up, again, like I said, I want to check in with me. How am I feeling? I know I'm always asking you guys how you feeling. How am I feeling? I am feeling great. I actually had a birthday, so that's cool. Gemini gang gang. And I was actually asked a really cool question as I was celebrating my birthday. That is, what are 3 things that up until this point in your life you've learned? And those 3 things are, usually your fears never come to pass. A lot of times it's perception that I'm not going to be good at this. This is going to be too hard for me. I'm not going to accomplish this. I'll never get here. I'm too scared for this. They're not going to support me. All of those fears, I've just learned over time, and I've proven myself over time and time again that fears are usually just that. They're just fears, and they're just thoughts, and you have to overcome them because if you don't, you'll never get to where you truly want to be. The second thing is, love is closer than you think. And it's not a fairy tale, but it is very real. And when I say love, I mean the love that you can't explain. The people who show up for you. The times in which things should be held against you and they just haven't been. The love that, like I said, for me, it's faith. The love that I know that God has for me. You think that love means always getting your way at times. It's perceived to the world that love means you're always right. That love is not challenged. That love is not... But love is present, and you are loved. And people are thinking about you when you don't think they're thinking about you. And people are praying for you when you don't think they're praying for you. And people are wanting to be around you and talk to you because they genuinely love to be in your presence. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is embrace your emotions, whatever they are. Embrace them. They're information. They're telling you something. And when you ignore them and press them down, you don't have that information. Your body's craving for you to understand yourself. And so embrace your emotions. Don't let them run away with you, but embrace them for what they are and acknowledge them. And if there's something else you need to do there, if you need to have a conversation, if you need to journal, if you need to cry, like do that and then keep walking forward. Don't just keep walking forward without acknowledging your emotion. So yeah, those are the 3 things that I was able to vocalize on my birthday. And there are things that I have learned but just never said out loud. If you could take any of that with you into your next birthday, to your next year of life, do that. Don't wait as long as I have to acknowledge those things and at least begin to explore them, right? So, listen. I know you guys like the podcast and the conversations and the guests, all of it. But when I tell you the majority of the feedback I've been getting has been about the raccoon, it's not even a joke. So let's set the record straight. Yes, I am terrified now of raccoons. One thing I have realized is so are a lot of other people. For the people close enough to me to have my number, raccoon gifs, raccoon pictures, not funny. Okay? Not funny. And because of the raccoon story, I figured I'd double down and have another rodent themed story because they seem like they're always up in my business. Okay. So I lived in an apartment, minding my business. I was on the first floor. I do remember, again, hindsight being 2020, I do remember that one day I was cleaning my apartment. My bedroom had French doors. I left the French doors open because I wanted fresh air to get in. I wanted to, that feeling of you just like letting fresh air in, cleaning up, all the chemical smells you want to kind of like dissipate. Okay, so French doors are open. Close the French doors, go about my life, live my life, come home, go to bed. I'm sitting in my bed with the light on, reach over to turn off the light because I'm ready for bed. I look down on my floor and I see a tail. Now, friends, I don't have a pet. I just want to leave you with that. I do not have a pet. But there is a tail that I see, and I see it and then it's gone. And I tell myself, Nisha, you didn't see a tail, because why would you see a tail on the side of your bed? Because you don't have a pet. You must just be that tired. Okay. So all of a sudden I look over again and I see the same tail go really fast. I said, what drugs did you take? Because these are strong. But I decided to take it a little bit more seriously this time, that there is a tail somehow in my apartment. Look over the side of my bed. So I decide to move really quickly on my bed because I'm like, if there is something in here. And the tail was like a bigger tail and it was fluffy. So I was like, I don't know what this thing is. It's not like it's a mouse. So I moved really quickly on my bed to see, like, am I really crazy? Because I'm pretty sure it was like late at night. It was like probably early in the morning. And all I hear under my bed is do 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 do. And I'm like, yep, it can have it. Whatever it is, I'm leaving. You can have my clothes. You can have my food. Just have it all. You can just have it all. And so I'm freaking out. I literally, this is what happens. I wait for like another 30 minutes on my bed in shock. Then, because I was cleaning earlier that day, I had left my broom in my room. So I am still standing on my bed. I reach over, grab the broom, have it on my bed with me. Now, no other time in my life would I ever put a dirty broom on my bed, but I was like, this is life or death, and I'm in a war. So I have my broom on my bed with me, right? Have my broom on my bed. I am terrified of my life because I'm like, what is in my room? I am concerned. And so I'm like standing in bed. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not getting down there with it. I know that. It better not come up here. If this is how we have to live, this is how we're going to get through the night. So I'm sitting on my bed and I'm like, you stay over there. I'm going to stay over here. I don't know what you are. And so I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. My legs are tired. Let's go to sleep. One of them, my toes are asleep. So I can't stand up on this bed anymore because I had to be ready for war. Like I couldn't sit down on my bed. I could not go to sleep. I'm not going to sleep. I will not turn off nary a light. So I take the broom, and the last sound I heard was under my bed. So I take the broom and I kind of like stick it under my bed as I'm still standing on the bed, and I'm like shaking it around. And all I see is a freaking squirrel go from one side of my room to the other one. And I am both relieved and scared out of my mind. And so in my mind, I'm like, I have eyes on the squirrel. I get down off my bed slowly because I have eyes on the squirrel. I take all the towels I have, shove them underneath every door in my room, which there are 2 of them, 3 of them. One is to my closet, one is to my bathroom, one is to the rest of my house. Towels. Because I figure the squirrel can't go underneath the door if there are towels, so it'll at least be confined and quarantined to this room. I jump back on my bed, scare the squirrel. It goes somewhere else. Don't know where it is. I'm like, what the heck? The squirrel's gone. I'm freaking out. I have my broom though. My towels are in place. I'm good. Kind of. Next thing I know, I wake up and I'm like leaning up against, I'm standing on my bed still. Somehow I fell asleep, leaning up against the wall behind my bed. Now I'm really freaked out because I'm like, what did this squirrel do when I was asleep? I was off my post. It was only like 20 minutes, if that. I was that tired. We're probably sitting at like 4 o'clock in the morning at this point. I was like, I will be up till daylight. Lights will not go off while the squirrel is in my room. I promise you. So then I got pissed. You know, as you're going through the stages of grief, one of the stages is anger. And I go, screw this squirrel. You're getting out of my room. And so I take my broom and I just like start angrily sweeping the floor because I don't know where the squirrel is. And I'm like, ah, ah. Then the squirrel like shoots out from like wherever it was. And I'm like, ah, you know, like, cause I'm really not as hard as I'm like putting on, because I needed to know I own this house, even though you can have it. You know what I mean? So it starts to like climb up my bookshelf, guys. Like it's trying to climb a tree. It's not a tree. It's my bookshelf. Okay. And I'm like talking to myself, like, this is the biggest game of the year. Like, you got to take your team to the semifinals, right? So I'm like sitting there talking to myself. I say, okay, Nisha, this is the plan. We're going to jump off the bed really quick, go to the door, unlock it. The French doors I'm talking about. Open the doors really quick. Then we're going to sweep the squirrel out. This was my plan at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, or whatever time. At this point in time, the sun was starting to come up, so it must have been 6 something. I don't know how long it took me to pep talk myself to do this. So the squirrels is on my bookshelf, and it's like frozen in time, because I don't know, maybe that's what squirrels do. I don't know. So I'm like, all right, time to activate the plan. So I jump on my bed, open the door, get back on my bed, and I'm like, all right, door is open. No more squirrels come in, but door is open. So I'm like, great. So I got the broom. So I like, all right, squirrel, it's me and you. If you somehow lunge this way, it's over. Like, I will die here, okay? What I need you to do, squirrel, is I need you to run out. I need you to save your life, because I don't know what will happen if you lunge this way. So I'm not only now talking to myself, I'm talking to the squirrel. So I take the broom, and I like, sweep the squirrel. And the squirrel goes, ah, and like flies through the air like Superman. I remember all the details of this because I'm freaked out and I have no sleep. So it like flies through the air, hits the ground, and just like runs like out the door all the way across the parking lot. And I'm like, like, I think it's the first time I like breathed the entire night. I like run over, close the door, lock it, still paranoid that there's like a family of squirrels now in my apartment. I literally, guys, after that, I cleaned my apartment like I had never cleaned. I washed all of my clothes. I steamed my floors. I vacuumed and steamed my floors. I wiped everything down with Lysol. And this is pre-COVID. I don't think I was ever the same in that apartment. Ever. Gosh. Anti-squirrel. Anyway. All right, next up on the show, we're going to jump into our conversation. And this week, our conversation is about contempt. And I just want to say first up, I love the feedback that I've been getting about me and Dre. It's kind of awesome that you guys have been saying such nice things about our relationship, about the way that we talk with each other, the way that we're able to kind of vibe off of each other, even on the podcast. And I think that it's wild. I think it's so great that the outside looking in, everything looks so put together. It just kind of highlights this whole Instagrammable type, social media type life where you hear one perspective of a story and you form an opinion. And this is not to discourage you from encouraging us because our relationship, it is all the things that you're saying. I'm just saying that it's not the only thing that you guys are saying. And so this is the reason why I wanted to bring up the topic of contempt. Marriage be hard. Let's back it up to even a wider view. Relationships be hard. And now let's zone in. Marriage be hard. And you probably kind of gotten a glimpse of what I mean by hard. You know, in the episode of ADHD, when I talked about interactions there, if you haven't listened to it, go listen to it. In our relationship, we've just, you know, on the spectrum of hard that marriage is, we've kind of always just found ourselves on the higher end of hard. So I kind of just wonder out in podcast land if anyone's heart is feeling similar to mine with having thoughts of, man, is this too hard? Or whether it be in a friendship or any other relationship that you have some sort of attachment to, spouse, whatever, of just like wanting something to work and then wondering, man, is this too hard? So these small, you know, things that you keep in your head most of the time, but you don't realize they have really big impacts on your relationships. Anyway, I love this quote. And the quote is, wherever you go, there you are. I think that at times our brains kind of protect us by saying, like, you know, I was in this relationship at this one point, but this person was so fill in the blank. But a lot of times we don't say about ourselves, like, I was so fill in the blank. And so we tend to replay our past relationships with us being the protagonist or us being the hero and the other person being the villain. This kind of just falls right into what contempt is. Because the reality is, whatever you were in that last relationship, you're bringing into your new relationship. Whatever you are that you haven't figured out, you are until you're not. You are until you figure it out. And so you can't run fast enough. You can't jump high enough. You can't hide deep enough or good enough to get away from you. And sometimes it's just a hard thing to deal with, that you can't blame away your problems, your traumas, your issues on someone else. So I love everything Gottman. If you haven't heard of the Gottman Institute, if you haven't heard of John Gottman, he is a psychologist that's done a ton of research on relationships and what breaks them up and what keeps them together. And he has the Gottman Institute. He has books. He has courses, all the things. But one of the things that he's known for is the Four Horsemen. And I know that on the Myths episode, Dre and I referenced the Four Horsemen. Well, I want to introduce or even reintroduce the concept of contempt. And so, of course, I do have to lay a foundation of just telling you what contempt is, but I don't want to go into, hey, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this. I kind of want to say what you should do. So the reason why I talk so much about wherever you go, there you are, is because what contempt does, it removes yourself kind of from the situation. And what it does to you is it gives you this, I am better than you type of attitude. Like when someone hurts you, when somebody does something to you that could very well be legitimate. Like someone can truly hurt you and someone can truly do something to you or continue to do something to you that's frustrating or really hard to forgive. I don't want to come off as if nobody's problem is their own, that every problem has to involve someone else, because sometimes it just really doesn't. Sometimes somebody can just do something really screwed up and you don't have to take responsibility for somebody else's crap. But that's not why I'm talking about this today. I'm talking about this today because contempt can bring on this attitude of I'm better than you or I don't respect you. And the attitude normally comes on after someone's been hurt, after someone's been kind of done wrong over and over again, after somebody's exhausted. It could be kind of like a slow burn of little things over a long period of time, or it could be one big thing. And so what Gottman realizes is the target of contempt, the purpose of contempt, is to make the other person feel worthless. And you do that because another saying, hurt people hurt people. And so if somebody hurts you, of course, the thing that your brain wants to do is defend yourself, retaliate. And forms of contempt include mocking someone with sarcasm, hostile humor, like taking jabs, name calling, mimicking, like, and body language, like eye rolling, neck rolling, sucking your teeth, all that. All of that is actually forms of contempt. And man, the reason I want to talk about it the way that I want to talk about it is because all of these 4 horsemen are things you can come back from. But Gottman's whole theory is that it's a sign that if it continues over a long period of time, it will lead you to ending that relationship, whatever that relationship may be. In marriage, it's divorce. In dating, it's breakup. In friendship, it's ending the friendship. In family, it's distance. I've been here. I mean, we probably all have been here, but I've been here in marriage. And I want people to know that you can come back from it, but I also just want people to know how easy it is that it comes on and how subtle it can be, to the point where sometimes you don't even recognize it in yourself. The eye rolling becomes, oh, that's just what I do. The sneering and the sucking the teeth, oh, you're just reading into things. The mimicking and the mocking with sarcasm becomes, that was just a joke. You're taking life too serious. You're taking me too serious. And when the reality of it is you're in contempt and don't even know it, and that other person is feeling the impact of your contempt. At first people can kind of move past it, get over it, but after a while it just kind of makes people feel bad. And the whole point of it, what it eventually accomplishes, it helps you to forget entirely your partner's positive qualities. That's literally what it accomplishes. And it's to the point that you can't remember a single positive quality or act. And there's just an immediate decay of admiration for that person. As I just glance back over in my mind of my relationships, I just remember times where I thought about certain people who really, really hurt me, who I, at the time, didn't have the emotional intelligence enough to communicate with, or just the self-work to do the healing work that it takes. And I would convince myself that person was never a good friend, never did anything good for me, never had any fun. And it's so easy for your brain to protect you in that way, to just block out all those good memories, especially when it comes to marriage and romantic relationships. Contempt erodes the bond that holds that coupledom securely together. It's difficult to build a relationship when you're breaking down your partner's positive qualities. But it's even worse when the relationship is deprived completely of respect. So that is contempt. I just want to talk a little bit about what to do instead. So Dre and I have had it rough, and we went into marriage kind of cold turkey, on both of our sides having examples that weren't the best in marriage. I come from a family of divorce. He comes from a family of shut up and just keep doing it because we're not going to get divorced. But neither one of our sets of parents did true healthy work. And so we're just kind of fumbling through this. And this is why this podcast means so much to me, because I know that there are so many other people who are fumbling through relationships because they didn't have the example, and don't necessarily even probably know what to do. But the good news, the hope, is that you can change your behavior, and it can be in your past. And even if it comes back up into your future, you have the power to put it back into your past. So the first tip that I'd put out there to say, this is what you do instead, would be create new memories. It's funny because if you're already in a place of contempt, sometimes it's hard to create new memories. And when I say create new memories, I mean create new, good, positive memories. So what's best is to think about the relationship between you and that person, like me and Dre. And force yourself to think about the best memory that you have for that person, that you have with that person, and recreate it. I'm going to get Dre to tell this story, so I'm not going to give it all away. But Dre and I had a trip to the zoo that was so much fun that if I were in the position to say, hey, how can I get myself out of the place of contempt? I'd go back to the zoo. I'd recreate the time, recreate the day. And just like you have bad triggers for bad memories, you have good triggers for good memories. You can smell something and your body goes, I remember when my mom used to make this at Christmas every year. Or you can have an encounter with a dog and be like, this is the dog that I had when I was childhood. And all of these good memories flood back to you. So you do have the ability to trigger good memories, even if you're in a place of contempt with your partner, with your friend. Recreate something that you've done. And make sure that you're going into that situation with a really positive attitude. And you definitely want to run it by the person. Don't just try to force someone to do something with you because you've heard the podcast and you're trying to fix it. Propose it as an idea. Hey, do you wanna? Does this sound like a good idea to you? We had so much fun the last time we went to the zoo. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to ruminate on old good memories. All of these things are forcing you to do is to block out the bad, remember the good. Whether you're watching your wedding video together, whether you are making a scrapbook together or have photo albums that you can go back and look through all these like good memories and good pictures, or you tell your partner or tell your friend, hey, let's print out all the pictures that we remember about each other, that we have with each other, of all the fun things we've done, and let's sit down, let's make a scrapbook. Dre and I actually have done that. And believe it or not, as cheesy as it sounds, it became something that was really fun for us and really enjoyable and something that we look forward to. And now we can look back in that scrapbook and it's filled with good memories. And I know that highlight reels are not great because, sometimes people can perpetrate that their life is better than what it is. But when it's in terms of your relationship or relationship you want to save, make a highlight reel. That's perfectly fine. All of this helps the process of reconnecting. And that's the point. Gottman has a theory on fondness and admiration, that if you focus on fondness and admiration, sometimes you can turn your me and my emotions and I am better than you and all of those types of things into a we and a team mindset, which is what you want to do if you really, really have a desire to save your connection. And ultimately, you invite hope back into your situation when you talk about the positive qualities that first attracted you to that person, that the good things, the good memories. The last tip I have is invite the hope back into your situation when you talk about the positive qualities that first attracted you to the person. Like, tell them out loud, like with your mouth, not in your head, but like out loud, and just start doing it. Send a text right now. Or when you get home, say something like, man, you know what I really love about you? Your sense of humor. You know what I really love about you? Your sense of calmness. And I liked it before. I like it now. It's still. If you say I love you, don't leave it at I love you. Don't leave off the why. The why is important because you can get in a rhythm of saying I love you and then forget why. Hence the contempt, right? And I know that sometimes being geeky can turn into being boring, or being playful can sometimes turn into, wow, you're so immature. But I invite you not to focus on how your brain has twisted these things in order to protect you, but to focus on the good. Why do you think that person at times comes off immature when they're joking and laughing all the time? Because you fell in love with their sense of humor and their levity. So that's the last tip. And just remember that even when you experience pain, there's still friendship there, that you just have to wake up and kind of get out of the matrix of wanting to protect yourself, get out of the matrix of that air vengeance to get back at that person, and to remember that there's still something there that attracted you to that person to begin with. And you just kind of have to find it, and you have to train your brain. And the reality is, the truth, it's not that you don't love this person. It's not that you don't admire the fact that they're geeky. It's that your brain is trying to help you by defending you and by protecting you. And I know, because this is me, I know that I was scared. hearing this. I was scared understanding contempt because I believe, and I won't even say believed, I believe somewhere in my thought process, in my mind, in my heart, that at times there's a reason for contempt. And I have a hard time convincing myself that there is no reason for contempt. Like, man, they hurt me this bad. Now, hear me right. Sometimes there is a reason for walking away from a bad relationship. I will not freely say that about a marriage because of how I believe the commitment of marriage should be. So you're not going to get that from me. Sorry, guys. But there are times when seasons of friendships end. There are times when seasons of dating ends where, reversing contempt is not going to bring the relationship back to life. I think that more so what I'm saying is, although there are points in times where walking away from a relationship is the best thing for the relationship, contempt is never necessary. So if you're like me, who's hearing what contempt is and saying, but this person was so mean, they were so unkind, they did this, they did that, they did this, they did that, so I have a reason to display contempt. I was wrong. And by default, because I was wrong, you were wrong. Contempt is never necessary. And it's one of the things in your relationship that you can control. And if you're the one with the contempt, you can change in order to see whether or not changing contempt can change the trajectory of that relationship. So I know the first thing I think about is, what if he hurts me again? Meaning Dre. And doesn't learn from this. But Gottman really, really champions this concept of looking at your partner through rose-colored glasses. And it's the same thing I said about creating your own highlight reel. It seems like the rose-colored glasses metaphor has this negative connotation and has always had this negative connotation. Like, it means you're naive. It means you're being silly. It means you're not being smart. But the reality is, looking at your partner through rose-colored glasses can be a really good thing for your relationship. It doesn't mean forget that there needs to be things that shift in your relationship as far as behaviors or mindsets, or that apologies don't need to be had. I think the biggest thing is when you look at your partner through rose-colored glasses, it diminishes the ability for you to fall into contempt and make the situation worse. It comes at your relationship from a place of love and not a place of hurt and damage and wanting to hurt that person in return. So the rose-colored glasses, what does that mean? Catch them doing something right. Appreciate them for doing the right thing and not criticizing them for doing the wrong. So they cooked dinner, but they left the kitchen a mess. Don't focus on the kitchen being a mess. Focus on the fact that they cooked dinner and appreciate them for cooking dinner. I would say, thanks, honey, for cooking dinner. And not, thanks, honey, for cooking dinner. You should have cleaned. Now I have to wash the dishes. Man, we could have ordered takeout if I knew you were going to mess up the kitchen making dinner. That's the difference between appreciation and contempt. And so put on your rose-colored glasses as it pertains to your relationship, your partner. And like I said, there are situations I understand out there that are abusive, that have reasons to walk away, that are unhealthy, and only you can know if that's your relationship. I urge you to talk to a therapist. I urge you to talk to a friend, someone who knows either you or knows the both of you, so that you can determine what your relationship is. What I'm referring to are relationships that have momentum still left in them. It's just buried. What I'm referring to is relationships that are healthy, that are not abusive, which I understand exist. So look at your partner through rose-colored glasses. By doing that, you appreciate the good things and leave off the bad, leave off the negative. And you're almost like putting change in this memory bank that you have, canceling out the bad debt that person has given you by hurting you. Also, gratitude. Thank your partner. Thank your friend. Thanks for always being a friend that takes the time to listen to my problems. Thanks for always being a friend who drives more than I drive when we go out together. Thanks for being a husband who picks up the phone every time I call because you know that my call is important to you. Thanks for being the husband that always does bath time. Thanks for being, the mom who has always provided for me. Even if that same mom didn't give you the love and the affection that you might have needed, thank you for always having provided for me, period. Fill that memory bank. Cancel that debt because you are not better than them. They could choose at any point in time to have the same contempt against you. We're not perfect. So the same contempt that you're holding against someone else could also be held against you. Cancel the debt. And I know that is so much easier for me to sit here and say than it is for you to do, because it is for me to do. If I said that there was no debt that I was carrying around concerning Dre, I would be lying to you. But there's friendship still there. And whatever relationship you're thinking of or that this podcast brings to mind, it's buried. Do this. I know it's hard. Do it though. And stop thinking you need a new fish. You don't need a new fish. Let me rant a little bit. I was the main one, before hearing all of this about contempt and about how do you actually save and revive a relationship. I thought when relationships were done, they were dead, and you just kind of keep trucking. But the reality of this is, people's out in podcast land, you don't need a new fish. Because wherever you go, there you are. Whatever fish you want, there you are. And you have way more control than you think you do. Feed your fish. Clean the tank. It ain't dead. Wake it up. It's not dead. We got to treat what we have like we don't want to lose it. You don't need no new fish. You. You're driving in the car. No, I'm joking. No, but seriously, you don't need a new fish. Clean your tank. Feed your fish. And how you feel. This was a little bit of a shorter one today, so I know it was a lot of information at once. It was a little bit more, jumping in feet first. But how do you feel? Because I love hearing your feedback and telling me how you feel. So how do you feel about squirrels now? Listen, if I get any squirrel pictures, I will capture one and put it in your home. I will face my fear and capture one and put them in your home. Okay? No squirrel pictures. And also, where are you holding contempt and judgment in your life and in your relationships? Have you found where you can control it? Have you seen where you can bring some hope back? Let me know. Because I love hearing from you guys. So we talked about squirrels. We talked about what I've learned in my 31 years. And we've talked about contempt and the fact that you don't need no new fish. Okay? As always, make sure to check out the website, unleashtheniche.com. That's unleash the THA niche.com to comment. Or, of course, email in at laugh@unleashtheniche. That's unleash the THA niche.com, guys. Okay? And as always, Patreon. Be a part of the niche gang. Married at First reviews. If you like this show, listen, plug. This is a plug. They are not sponsoring my show. But this show, if you are married, watch it with your partner if they will comply. Watch it with your partner, seriously, because even though it's a little reality TV, drama packed, whatever, this show, if you watch it through the lens of what can I learn, can help you in your marriage so much. And me and Dre watching this show have had so many good conversations based on it, and we're gonna review it on my Patreon. So this season 15, I think they're in California this time. They go from state to state. So yeah, be a part of the niche gang. Check that out, the review, because you'll want to talk about it, and we're gonna talk about it. Okay. And there's other vlog type content you don't want to miss. And, maybe we can impact the world or something. I don't know. I'll leave you with that. Bye.